Hey y'all, I want to talk to y'all about some annuals that really made it for me and that I would consider a hit for this 2025 season. If y'all have been watching my videos, you know that 2025 garden season has been a rough one for us. We've had severe bug pressure, we've had big deluges of rain, and then very dry, and then very hot, and then a weird cold. It's just been all over the place. And according to the weather that I've been seeing, I'm not the only one who's been dealing with some extreme weather this year. So I don't know how well this season is for talking about other things like perennials and shrubs, but I feel like the annuals, you know, if they could survive this year, they could do any year. So I just wanted to start out here. This is the Upside series of sweet potato vine that Proven Winners came out with. This one is called Upside Black Coffee. And I had this trellis here. We had black-eyed Susan vine on it at the beginning of the year. I had found a local grower that I think it was actually left over from the year before, and they had wintered it over in their greenhouse. So when we put it in the ground, it actually had a good amount of size to it, and it quickly rambled on up this trellis that we have here. And then we put in the black coffee, and I was hoping that the green and the black were going to kind of commingle, and then they would have the yellow flowers of the black-eyed Susan vine. But the black-eyed Susan vine actually, I think, just created too much shade for the little quart pot that this black coffee was in, and it wouldn't really take off and do what it needed to do going up the trellis. It just kind of was stunted. And anyways, the black-eyed Susan vine we ended up taking it down. It had such severe bug damage. We took it down, and this black coffee, y'all, took off. And then this is probably growth from probably 2 months, maybe 3 months worth of growth. And even now, I think it's got some white fly when you hit it, and bugs come flying out of it, and it's got kind of a dusty appearance. But y'all, if it can be tough enough to deal with all of that, then it's a good one for me. And so I'm going to come over here. This side gets a little bit more sun, and you can see that it has kind of its new growth are the little green flowers, and then they mature to the dark color after they've been out for a little bit. So this side looks much fresher than the side I was just showing y'all. Either way, I think I'm going to do this one again. I did have to come in. This is some Baptisia behind it, and I had to cut some of it off, and actually there's some on there now where it's kind of wanting to, if I don't keep it on the trellis, it wants to vine into other plants. You do need to be mindful of that. And if I go back even further to when I placed my order for my annuals in December of 2024, I got the black coffee, and I also got the key lime, which is the green version of this plant. And I was going to put them together, and I don't know, I just kind of had a bunch of possibilities. I had thought about putting them in the container, and I'm so glad I didn't do that, because this plant would be way too vigorous for a container, in my opinion. Or you would have to constantly be trimming on it, keeping it under control. So anyway, so we set up like a little trellis over here. It's not there anymore because in a storm the trellis got knocked over and it uprooted the upside key lime sweet potato vine, and so we just decided to pull it out. It had been a long season, and I hate that I didn't show that to y'all more, but it was looking really great and the color was beautiful. So I tell you all of that to say I would recommend that one as well. I've shown y'all this plant many times this season. This is the Unplugged white Salvia. It is supposed to be an annual salvia, and I hope that it will overwinter or will become a perennial for our area. I guess it'll depend on how cold it is. It has kind of gotten a little floppy, but I have not cut it back. It is not on drip. It has not received any fertilizer, and look at it, y'all. This is 5 plants, and it has totally just taken over this area. In fact, I was telling my husband, I was like, I think we need to chop it back because we have some phlox that we cut back because it was looking bad. It had gotten bug damage. And it's starting to come back, but the salvia is practically laying on top of it. So this is definitely a winner for me, and I'm going to call it an annual because that's what it is as far as I know right now. But if it ends up being a perennial, I don't know, I can't decide. I think I'll be ordering some more, and I'll put it back in this place if this does not come back. But if it does come back, I have high hopes that it does, and I will be adding more of it throughout the garden because, y'all, I need easy to care for plants like this. I don't know about y'all, to help balance out all of the fussiness that's been happening in my life and in this garden this year. So this is Unplugged Salvia White. Sorry for the downspout yuck that you're having to see here, but this is Supertunia Vista Jazzberry. And I told y'all this is probably the last year we'll be growing it in this spot. But again, it up close doesn't necessarily look that great. The foliage is looking kind of scraggly, but as far as the flowers go, you back up a little bit and there's nothing to complain about. All you see are flowers, and they look fabulous for it to be October. But I had to get out here and video and show y'all this before we start pulling things up and changing things out for the fall, or they just continue to look worse, because y'all, we put these in April. So they are on drip. I haven't really fertilized them very much. They did get some at the beginning when we put them in, but after that I haven't really fertilized them very much. And we have come in multiple times and cut them from around our shrubs that are here, because they do want to take over, which is why, like I said, they probably won't be out here next year. I highly recommend this Supertunia Vista Jazzberry. All right, this is the first year that I grew this plant. This is the Augusta Lavender Heliotrope. And again, if y'all have kept up with me, you know that we moved this plant not but a month or so ago. It didn't have hardly any leaves or had no flowers on it. And we moved it over here to give it more sun, and it has taken off. So I think I may be giving this one another try. It also looks like it may self-seed. And that used to stress me out, the thought of that, but I'm at a time where I'm like, I'm ready for it. And so if we go over, I'll show y'all where it was at underneath the maple tree. All right, sorry for the dappled lighting, but that was the problem with these heliotrope in this area underneath the maple. And I'm showing y'all this to show y'all how it's self-seeded. So we pulled it up from this area. They were in between these plants along this border. And we have, it looks like 5 little plants here taking its place, and I'll be leaving those there and see what happens. And this is the Audray Mix Gomphrena I grew from seed. It is just about ready to go over. The foliage is looking really rough, but y'all, this plant has been watered. It is on irrigation, but no fertilizer whatsoever. Zero, none. And it has just been fuss-free the whole season. I wasn't too sure how I felt about it for next year, but my husband's like, we are growing that plant again next year, just because he loves that it's been so fuss-free, and we love the color of it. So we will have to make sure we get more seed and try this one again. It was easy to germinate. Got it from Johnny's Seed. So if you're interested and you like the way this Gomphrena looks, the Audray Mix from Johnny's Seed. Just don't go buy it up before I have a chance to get more. All right, and this is Surefire Begonia in white. Y'all, it has done phenomenal this year, and I had never grown this plant before. There were a lot of annuals I was trying out for the first time, and I just have been so impressed. Now, right now, it doesn't look that great. You can tell the snail slugs and whatever other insects are just absolutely just barraging our garden right now have found their way to this plant. And so it looks like something is eat it up, but it has flowered nonstop. It is on irrigation, but I have given it no fertilizer, and I cut it back once just to get some of the stems again off of the abelias. But for the most part, it has just done its thing and been perfect in this really difficult lighting situation, where over to the right here we get a lot more shade, and in the left get some really hot afternoon sun. And these guys have been able to handle it. So I think that we'll be giving those another try next year. I hate to get stuck into a pattern of the same plants in the same places every year. But when something works, you can't deter from it, because it works and it looks good and you're satisfied with it. So why make things harder on yourself, right? And right above it, I'm going to show y'all, this is Diamond Frost Euphorbia in this pot. It is loving the cooler temperatures, and in the more late summer, early fall time period that we've had, they were, of course, if you've seen them before, were not this floriferous and this big. And it's like, soon as it started turning cool, they took off, which worked out fine because the other annuals in this pot were kind of waning and were tired from the year. So they just kind of took over and they look fabulous. So I've got them in these 2 urns. I'll show you the other one over here. This one probably looks even better than the other one. And then I want to show y'all what they did in the hanging baskets that we have. All right, so these hanging baskets look horrendous, so please ignore that part. But as you can see down at the bottom, that's Supertunia and Supertunia were in this hanging basket, and they have gone over. But look at the top, the Diamond Frost Euphorbia fills out so greatly that I could go in with scissors and just cut around the bottom and cut all that dead off, and you wouldn't even know that I just didn't have a hanging basket, a Diamond Frost Euphorbia. And the one on this side looks the same, other than the Supertunia is trying to hang in there a little bit. But y'all, these plants, they're just tired. And it cooled off, so we put them back over by the swing so they could get more sun. And they were doing great, but then it turned hot and they just fried. So that's not the point. The point is, if you are doing summer containers, think about putting some Diamond Frost Euphorbia in your container, and then whenever the seasons start to change over and your really summer annuals start looking tired, this Diamond Frost just takes over and makes it look healthy and strong still. I know that Vista Jazzberry is looking a little rough, but that is not to be said about this Snowdrift. This is Supertunia Vista Snowdrift. Y'all, it was looking rough. I don't know if you caught that on an earlier video that I had where it had kind of died at back and had gotten all leggy and spindly, which petunias tend to do as the season goes on. And I had cut this guy back a couple of times. In that video, I had told y'all that it had cooled off and had started coming back, and then it got hot again. So that's the reason why it was looking so leggy. Well, what I did was, instead of throwing it out, which I had thought about doing, I went ahead and cut back all the leggy at the top, because underneath it had started reblooming. And so when I took off that top layer that was kind of giving a little bit of protection, I think, in the heat, it just went bananas, y'all. I have never had a petunia look this good this late in the season, and it looks fabulous. And so anyway, so this is Supertunia Vista Snowdrift. I would recommend this plant. This is the plant that I use in our front annual bed, and I had just an extra one. Again, if you caught that at the very beginning of the season, I think it's over on my Instagram page. I was comparing this one that didn't look that great to begin with the really tight Jazzberry that I had gotten from Garden Crossing. And this guy had actually gotten here at a local nursery, and it was struggling really bad. So I just stuck it in the pot. And that's right, this is one plant that has been cut on multiple times and was looking fabulous. Don't sleep on this one. If y'all want a really full, it gets 2 to 3 feet tall and 2 to 3 feet wide. If you want a plant like that, this is the way to go. All right, and this one is Mini-Me Chartreuse Coleus. Y'all, this is the first year that I've grown it. I really loved the compact habit. It does get a little bit wider than I thought it would. This is in a really hot afternoon sun, and it has really held its own here. And the back is Albrido Coleus. I haven't been as happy with it. I think it may be too much sun in this area. It really wasn't able to hold its color variation very well. I don't know if y'all can see that. There's some dark, and then just the green edging, almost like, was it Wizard, Wicked Witch, like Wicked Witch. But you can see on this leaf, so where they're supposed to be yellow, there's no color really variation there. It's very faint. And I did cut it back, and I added these plants. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link I'll put the link up above, where you can see that I changed this planter out to have some more fall color, and I added perennials so that I could transfer them into the garden and have them last a little bit longer than just the few months that we get for fall around here. You can see too with the El Brido how it's kind of hanging over the edge, but it's like a long stem, whereas the mini-me Chartreuse stays kind of dense in form, and it just looks more normal, where the El Brido gets real leggy looking as it grows wide in the pot. And this is a pretty wide pot. So I would recommend the mini-me Chartreuse, and I think that I'll probably try it in another application, maybe in the landscape next year. All right, so lastly I want to talk about this container. Y'all just struggled all season long. About late summer, I switched over the annuals in the back to this Mona Lavender or Plectranthus. Y'all, this is one of my favorite plants, and I used to have it in the urns up, but I couldn't find the plant this year, and it appeared at Lowe's, like I said, July, August, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna switch out and put that in because I just love the plant. And right away, y'all, it got attacked by something, and the poor plant has looked terrible ever since we put it in. But the lemon coral sedum that is here in front of it looks great. So I hope that y'all have had a wonderful annual gardening season for 2025, and that you find this video helpful in determining what you may want to try for next year. I know I'm talking a lot about forward thinking for 2026. I hope that y'all don't begrudge me for that, but the fall really is a great time to prepare for next year and reflect on what has worked and what has not worked. I love how then trying new things has led to me having a whole new list of favorite plants. So I hope y'all have enjoyed this. If you have, please like and subscribe, and we'll see y'all real soon.